distinguished senators, and honorable members, although we have recorded more achievements over the last year, I will now proceed with a review, with an overview of the 2023 proposal. The 2023 budget proposal is the 8th and final budget of this administration. It reflects the serious challenges currently facing our country, key reforms necessary to address them, and imperatives to achieve higher, more inclusive, diversified, and sustainable growth. The expenditure policy of government in 2023 is designed to achieve the strategic objectives of National Development Plan 2021 to 2025, including microeconomic stability, human development, food security, improved business environment, energy sufficiency, improving transport infrastructure, and promoting industrialization focusing on small and medium-scale enterprises. Against the backdrop of the challenging global and domestic economic environment, it is imperative that we strengthen our microeconomic environment and address subsisting challenges as a country. The 2023 appropriation, therefore, is a budget of fiscal sustainability and transition. Our principal objective in 2023 is to maintain fiscal stability and ensure smooth transition to the incoming administration. Distinguished members of the National Assembly, the 2023 to 2025 medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper sets out the parameters for the 2023 budget as follows. A, oil price benchmark of 70 United States dollars per barrel. B, daily oil production estimate of 1.69 million barrels, inclusive condensates, and of 300,000 to 400,000 barrels per day. C, exchange rate of 435.57 Naira per United States dollar. And D, projected GDP growth rate of 3.75% and 17.16% inflation rate. Based on these fiscal assumptions and parameters, total federally collected revenue is estimated at 16.87 trillion Naira in 2023. Total federally distributable revenue is estimated at 11.09 trillion Naira in 2023, while total revenue available to fund the 2023 federal budget is estimated at 9.73 trillion Naira. This includes the revenue of 63 government-owned enterprises. Oil revenue is projected at 1.92 trillion Naira. Non-oil taxes are estimated at 2.43 trillion Naira. Federal government of Nigeria independent revenue are projected to be 2.21 trillion Naira. Other revenues total 762 billion Naira, while the retained revenue of the government-owned enterprises amount to 2.42 trillion Naira. The 2023 appropriation bill aims to maintain the focus of MDAs on the revenue side of the budget and greater attention to internal revenue generation, sustenance of revenue generation, sustenance of revenue diversification strategy would further increase the non-oil revenue share of total revenues. A total of expenditure of 20.51 trillion Naira is proposed for the federal government in 2023. This includes 2.42 trillion naira spending by government-owned enterprises. The proposed 24.15 trillion naira 2023 expenditure comprises A, statutory transfers of 744.1 billion naira, B, non-debt recurrent costs of 8.27 trillion naira, C, personal costs of 4.9 trillion naira, D, pensions, gratuities, and retirees' benefits of 854.8 billion naira, E, overheads of 1.1 trillion naira, F, capital expenditure of 5.35 trillion naira, including the capital component of statutory transfers, G, debt service of 6.31 trillion naira, and H, sinking fund of 247.73 billion naira to retire certain maturing bonds. We expect total fiscal operations of the federal government to result in a deficit of 10.8 trillion naira. This represents 4.78% of estimated GDP, above the 3% threshold set by the Fiscal Responsibility Act 2007. As envisaged, the law we need to exceed this threshold, considering the need to continue to tackle the existential security challenges facing the country. We plan to finance the deficit mainly by new borrowings totaling 8.80 trillion naira, 206.18 billion naira from privatization proceeds, and 1.77 trillion naira drawdowns on bilateral, multilateral loans secured for specific development projects and programs. Over time, we have resorted to borrowing to finance our fiscal gaps. We have been using loans to finance critical development projects and programs aimed at further improving our economic environment and enhance the delivery of public services to our people. As we are aware, we have witnessed 2 economic recessions within the period of this administration. A direct result of this is a significant decline in our revenue generation capacity. In both cases, we had to spend our way out of recession, resulting in higher public debt and debt service. It is unlikely that our recovery from each of the 2 recessions would have been as fast without the sustained government expenditure funded by debt. In line with our plan to accompany annual budget with finance bills, partly to support the realization of fiscal projection, current tax and fiscal law regulations are being reviewed to produce a draft finance bill 2022. It is our intention that once ongoing consultations are completed, the Finance Bill 2022 would be submitted to the National Assembly to be considered alongside the 2023 Appropriation Bill. To ensure fiscal sustainability, we will further improve our business enabling environment, accelerate current revenue-based fiscal consolidation efforts, and strengthen our expenditure and debt management. Distinguished senators, honorable members, you may recall that we earlier integrated the budget of government-owned enterprises into the federal government's 2019 budget submission. This has helped to enhance the comprehensiveness and transparency of the federal government budget. It has, however, come to my attention that government-owned enterprises liaise directly with relevant NAS committees to have their budget passed and issued to them directly. I would like to implore the leadership of the National Assembly to ensure that the budget I lay before here today, which includes those of the government-owned enterprises, be returned to the presidency when passed. The current practice, where some committees of the National Assembly purport to pass budgets for government-owned enterprises, which are at variance with the budgets sanctioned by me, and communicate such directly to the MDAs, is against the rules and needs to stop, please. Nigeria requires okay, it is still my turn. It is still my turn. Nigeria requires a huge outlay of resources to close current infrastructure gaps and boost its economic performance. Government will develop projects that are good candidates for public-private partnership by their nature for private and sector participation. Distinguished senators, honorable members, ladies and gentlemen, over the course of this administration, we have embarked on a number of reforms in the public finance management space. These reforms are bearing fruits, and we have seen some of the benefits, the return to a predictable January to December fiscal year for the federal government of Nigeria budget. Earlier this year, I was briefed of the impressive performance of the Nigeria in the Open Budget Survey as the third best or most improved country in the world, matching the global average score in budget transparency and exceeding the global average in public participation. I commend the Budget Office of the Federation and the Supervising Ministry of Finance and National Planning, the National Assembly leadership, the relevant appropriation and finance committees, as well as non-state actors who have worked tirelessly in pushing for greater transparency and accountability in our budget process. We need to sustain and institutionalize the gains of these reforms. To this end, I have directed the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning to immediately work on mainstreaming these reforms and work with the National Assembly on passing an organic budget law, which I hope to assent to before the end of this administration. The government notes with dismay the crisis that has paralyzed activities in the public universities in the country. We expect the staff of these institutions to show a better appreciation of the current state of affairs in the country. In the determined effort to resolve the issue, we have provided a total of 470 billion naira in the 2023 budget from our constrained resources for revitalization and salary enhancements in the tertiary institutions. Distinguished senators and honorable members, it is instructive to know that today government alone cannot provide the resources required for funding tertiary education. In most countries, the cost of education is jointly shared between the government and the people, especially at the tertiary level. It is imperative, therefore, that we introduce a more sustainable model of funding tertiary education. The government remains committed to the implementation of agreements reached with staff union within available resources. This is why we have remained resolute that we will not sign any agreement that we would be unable to implement. Individual institutions would be encouraged to keep faith with any government reached in due course to ensure stability in the educational sector. Government is equally committed to improving the quality of education at other levels. Recently, we implemented various incentives aimed at motivating and enhancing teachers' development in our schools. In the health sector, the government intends to focus attention on equipping existing hospitals and rehabilitating infrastructure. Emphasis will also be on local production of basic medicines and vaccines. As human capital is the most critical resource for national development, our overall policy thrust is to expand our investment in education, health, and social protection. To harness the potentials of all Nigerian women and enable them to productively contribute to the economy, we will continue to prioritize women's empowerment programs across various MDAs in 2023. Government is very concerned about the high food prices in the country. Various measures are being implemented to address the structural factors underlying the issue. We will also step up current efforts aimed at boosting food production and distribution in the country. You will recall our efforts in improving production of fertilizer, rice, maize, cassava, among other initiatives. Government is not unaware of the challenges confronting the manufacturing sector. We will ensure effective implementation of policy measures aimed at positioning the manufacturing sector to generate more foreign exchange in the near future. We are also committed to improving the business environment to stimulate local and foreign investment. We ratified the Safe Schools Declaration in 2019. We remain committed to the effective implementation of our Safe Schools policy. A total of 15.2 billion Naira has been specifically provided in the 2023 budget to scale up current measures to provide safer and conducive learning environment in our schools. The government remains firmly committed to the security of life, property, and investment across the country. Accordingly, defense and internal security continue to be accorded top priority in 2023. Current efforts to properly equip and motivate our valiant personnel in the armed forces, police, and paramilitary units will be sustained. I assure you, insecurity, especially banditry and kidnapping, will be significantly curtailed before the end of this administration. We will redouble our efforts to ensure we leave a legacy of a peaceful, prosperous, and secured nation. Mr. Senate President, Mr. Speaker, distinguished honorable members of the National Assembly, let me conclude my address today by again expressing my deep appreciation for your enormous support, patriotic zeal, and cooperation in our efforts to accelerate the socio-economic development of our country and improve the lives of our people. I appreciate the effort and commitment of the leadership and staff of the Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning, especially the Budget Office of the Federation, who have worked hard to achieve early submission of the 2023 appropriation bill. The 2023 budget proposal is a product of interagency collaboration, extensive stakeholder consultation, and productive engagements. I would therefore like to acknowledge the efforts of the media, the organized private sector, civil society organizations, and our development partners for their contributions in the process of preparing the budget. Considering the challenging situation in our country presently, we must continue to cooperate and collaborate to ensure fiscal stability, macroeconomic stability, and smooth transition to the incoming administration. This administration remains resolutely committed to our goals of improving the living standards of our people and effective delivery of public services. Distinguished and honorable members of the National Assembly, although no single government can solve all the problems of a country during its own tenure, I have no doubt that you share our aspiration. The 2023 transition budget is designed to address critical issues and lay a solid foundation for the incoming administration. Excuse me. It is with great pleasure, therefore, that I lay before this distinguished joint session of the National Assembly the 2023 proposal of the Federal Government of Nigeria. I thank you most sincerely for your attention. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.